What's going on, guys, and welcome back to bullgearrc videos. Now today I've got out the little CR24 by Hobby Plus, and thinking about doing a little work to it, doing a little modifications. So off camera I started taking this thing apart. And what we done, I took the electronics out, removed the electronics tray, and we have taken the transmission loose. It's three screws down here, piece of cake. So the idea, guys, is what I want to do to this thing is I want to increase the low end torque, the way it crawls. It does good. For a 24 scale, but I want to try to do a mod that I've seen done on some of the bigger, like the RC four-wheel drive 18th scale Galenda, for example. They've done this mod too, and I want to see if I can make it work on the CR24 by Hobby Plus. And what that mod is these are some little gear motors. They're N20s. They got a gear reduction unit built onto the motor, and these are pretty cheap. I believe this one is 6 volts, 600 RPM, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if that's the correct one. But what I want to do is use 2 of these and make a dual motor setup. 1 motor per drive shaft, similar to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to see first today, we're going to see if we can get this stuff mounted in here. And once we get it mounted, then of course we can hook up the drive shafts later on, get it all wired back in. And since I do have the upgraded ESC receiver, I can run 2S in this, so we'll change this thing up to 2S. Now I know I said that these motors are for 6 volt and 2S is 7.4, but since this is primarily a crawler, we're not going to be at wide open throttle with this thing all the time, so I don't think that that's going to hurt us any. And if it does, well, we change what little motors and gear reduction units that we put in here, because like I said, these things are pretty cheap. So I did look at my other micro crawlers, and this one seems to have the best area here for doing this mod. Okay, so first thing we got to do is we got to try to figure out, if this is gonna fit in here, if this is gonna work out. And what I notice is that these 2 motors are pretty much the same width as our links from here to here inside the screws. So if we mount this in here like this, these motors are actually going to sit on the top of the links, and I'm not a fan of that. It would probably work, but I think I'm going to raise it up, and I actually have some plans for maybe changing the links out in the future. So I want to give a little bit of clearance. So what I did is I cut out a piece of styrene. This is the 060 size styrene, and I'm going to use that throughout this little part of the build here. Let's see if we can make this work. That raises the motors up just above the links, gives us some clearance over the top of the links. So the next thing is, how are we going to mount these motors? So what I've done is, this is my idea. I've cut out some more pieces. I've cut out 3 pieces of styrene per side that are going to sit in here like this. That fits in there pretty nicely. And then we will glue all that together, and then we'll put a top on it like this. Now, what I want to do, I don't want to glue this top on. What I want to do is actually, after this is all glued and dried, I want to drill some holes, and I want the top, when I screw it down, I want this to cause a clamping action on the motors to hold the motors in place. And then as far as holding the entire unit into place, we have a couple holes here and here, and we also have the mounting screws that mount in our transmission skid plate. So we can utilize something in this area, or even put a new hole through here and run a screw into here on either side and get this thing mounted into place. And that's what we're going to try to do today, guys, is just get these motors mounted in, and then in a later video we can start wiring things up and making sure that our gear reductions are the correct speed and size and whatnot. And so that's the idea, guys. So let's get this thing done. Okay, so I got it all glued together, stuck my motors down inside here, and I filed this down to where it would leave me a little gap, so that way when I screw it together, it's going to clamp these motors into position. So now on to the mounting of the unit itself. I think what I'm going to do here and here, we have a couple pins that hold this in place kind of into the frame, and that's going to be the easiest place for me to drill through. So we're going to take a little pin vise and a small drill, and we're just going to drill right through the sides here so we can get a mounting point. All right, so we got this thing stuck together. As you can see, it's firmly in place. The motors are firmly in place. So yeah, that looks like that's gonna work out. Now I didn't get my lid on perfectly square, and that's fine. This is just me messing around, see if I can make this thing work. I'll probably clean it up a little bit before we're done. And let me see, where is this thing here? So this is our electronics tray, and it sits right in here. Just like so. And as you can see, it's sitting on top of the this motor mount that I just built. So I will probably end up trimming a little bit off of this edge of the lid, so this will sit down flush, and then the little holes will line up. So anyway, that's where we're at this time, guys. I'm going to go ahead and call this a wrap for now. One other thing, I guess, before I go, we are going to have to use the steel or the metal drive shafts for this. The plastic ones aren't going to fit onto these shafts, but anyway, I used one of those on the SCX24, and so I'm gonna have to order a new one before I can stick the drive shafts in here. And we may have to trim a little bit off the ends of these shafts to make everything line up. I'm not sure, but we'll get to that as we progress on. Till next time, Uncle Lee, bullgearrc video said, I'll see ya.